Alrighty, we're back.
But seriously? A different weapon?
Specifically, a hammer from the repository. The killer could have easily used that to kill Hifumi. Now, all the hammers in the repository were covered in flecks of grit and debris.
Okay.
But for some reason, one of them had been scrubbed clean.
Huh?
And the reason it had been scrubbed clean was most likely because it was used to commit murder.
Exactly.
If the hammer got covered in Hifumi's blood, of course they'd have to clean it off.
Yes.
I'd also like to point out that the repository has all kinds of hammers. Big ones, small ones,
That is also true.
and even some flat mallet-like ones.
Mm-hmm.
I think whoever made the Justice hammers used those as a basis for their design.
And they actually just painted those because there was a full rack when we first found the place.
If that's true, that would explain the Monokuma file's note about the wounds being similar.
So Hifumi moved Taka's body to the repository, where someone then used a hammer to kill him.
Yes.
Whoever did that is the true killer. The one Hifumi was working with. And the one who betrayed him. Hold on a moment. I still think it's strange to assume someone was working together with him. The way the graduation rule works, there is no benefit to helping someone else carry out a murder. So the idea that anyone would work together like that is simply ludicrous. We talked about this, did we not?
But he was really interested in helping the bitch help do all that shit. Spotless hammer? Okay. Might just have to grab something, don't I?
Based on the rules that have been laid out, even if more than one, only the one who actually carried out the act can, assuming the rule holds true. It is simply impossible that...
That is how the rule would...
But that only really applies if there's one. In this case, however, there were two murders.
Based on the rules, even if more than one, only the one who actually carried out the... Assuming the rule holds true. It is simply impossible that two people were...
That is how the rule was
But that only really applies if there's one murder, right? In this case, however, there were two murders.
I'm gonna try grabbing the one.
Based on the rules, that
And
even
shooting
if more
the-
than only the one who actually assuming the rule holds
This
true.
one.
It is
That is how the rule...
But that only really applies if there's one. In this case, however, there were two murders.
There's only two things in here, isn't there?
Based on the rules, even if more than one, only the one who actually carried out the act can graduate and survive. Assuming the rule holds true, it is simply impossible that two people work together on this.
That is how the rule was explained to us.
But that only really applies if there's one murder, right? In this case, however, there were two murders.
Okay. Shit. I'm about to die.
Based on the rules,
Let's go the other way around,
even
then.
if more than one, only the one who actually carried out the act can graduate, assuming the rule holds true. It is simply impossible that two people work together.
That is how the rule was explained to us.
But that
Interesting.
only really applies if there's one murder, right? In this case, however, there were two murders.
Based on the rules that have been laid out for even if more than one, only the one who actually carried out the act can graduate, and assuming the rule holds true. It is...
There we go.
No, that's wrong.
Ha 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 ha. I survived another day.
Since there were two murders, it's at least plausible that more than one person was involved.
Yes.
What do you mean?
If there'd only been one murder, then yes, the idea of an accomplice isn't really worth considering.
Mm-hmm.
Naturally, if only one person can be saved per murder, an accomplice has no risk versus reward benefit.
Mm-hmm.
Risk versus reward benefit?
The payoff for working together. The reward that balances out the risk of taking part in a scheme. There's no point in being someone's accomplice if there's no benefit to you.
Yes.
However, if there were some potential mutual reward for the risk, then cooperation becomes possible.
Oh yes.
You're saying that two people could act as each other's accomplices to commit two separate murders.
I think that's what the true killer told Hifumi. They would each have an accomplice for their crime. And based on the case's events, Hifumi would have been the first one to act, murdering Taka. They made him carry out the first murder so he couldn't back out of helping them later on.
So in this case, there wasn't one single person committing multiple murders.
Nope. Two murders.
Instead, each person killed someone, creating two separate incidents.
Yes.
And it only looked like one person because that's how the true killer designed it to look.
Oh
A
yes.
single suspicious individual, a similar weapon used in each crime, disappearing bodies.
Word.
By creating one seamless set of circumstances, they made it look like one person was behind it all.
And
The
then
mastermind picked their target and managed to convince him to go along with their plan. And then, to avoid the no accomplices rule, they simply killed their accomplice. Which, if true, means that betraying Hifumi was part of the plan from the very beginning.
oh shit.
That's just awful. How could anyone be so cruel?
Magic.
You think so? I can't help but admire its cunning. Still, their choice of accomplice seems odd.
Yeah. They ever made to convince its two murders were the same that made it at the time. Koga must have noticed that fact from the very beginning. This is why she said not to look at this series as connected events but as separate incidents. Who would have made them though? Think about it, she's almost too amazing. Like it's almost unnatural how good she is at this. It's because of her talent, man.
I understand
Maybe
how
this
an
is a
accomplice
spoiler,
could
so I
be
cannot say.
involved. But then, who was the one pulling Hifumi's strings?
That's problem numero uno right now.
The true killer manipulated Hifumi to carry out a murder and actions at the end murdered him. In the debates up till now, the case has been folded. You consider all that? There's really one person who seems to fit.
Here's my answer.
Got it.
It was Celeste.
Ah, so I'm the suspicious individual now, am I? I really do hate this kind of joke.
A joke? I wonder.
So what you are saying then is that I specifically chose to work together with Hifumi.
Yes.
The idea that I would choose to spend any amount of time interacting with him, that I would go within 10 feet of that shit for brains, that lazy, worthless, goddamn idiot! Pardonnez-moi.
Just to be clear, there is evidence to support it.
Is that so?
Yes.
It is. Throughout the investigation, there was certain behavior that was common only to the two of you. Considering what we've learned so far, it only further proves that the two of you were working together.
Yeah, it does.
I got it! The behavior they had in common has to do with the suspicious individual in the suit, doesn't it? The only ones who ever actually saw Robo-Justice firsthand were Celeste and Hifumi.
Shush, the adults are talking now.
Sorry.
As he said, only Celeste and Hifumi ever laid eyes on the
Oh,
costumed
Jesus Christ, what a
individual.
dick.
If we accept that Hifumi was one of the culprits, we can't help but suspect what Celeste has said as well.
Are you saying everything they told us was a lie?
Yes.
After taking Hifumi to the nurse's office, we all began our search for this individual, correct? And not too long after that, do you remember what Celeste said?
Moving up the stairs.
We headed to the second floor specifically because of what she claimed to have seen. Next, to draw us all to the physics lab up on the third floor,
She let out a blood-curdling scream.
and when we'd all come to see what was wrong, what was it she said?
What do I do? Dude, strange costume man. He ran up to the screen. It was blocking the stairs, head to down the hall and disappeared.
Once she'd done her job of getting us all up to the physics lab, it was time for her partner to get to work.
What was that? That must have been Fumi. He's in the nurse's office.
It was to get us to divide into two groups. So that we would discover both bodies at the same time?
In fact, Celeste was precisely the one who proposed that we split up. Well, if Celeste and Hifumi were working together, all those chance events suddenly become connected.
Yes.
And on top of that, that piercing cry of yours early on. That was to signal Hifumi, wasn't it? It was your way of telling him, we're on the 3rd floor, everything's going according to plan. Why else would you let out a scream that could have carried across the sea?
I just realized another strange thing.
Yes.
When we found Hifumi in the nurse's office, who we now know was only pretending to be dead. Celeste, you were the first one to say he'd been murdered. You wanted to make sure we wouldn't have any doubt in our minds.
I don't believe it. Everything, the whole thing was one big act.
Yes.
Hina, you were with Celeste when Hifumi's body disappeared, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I was feeling kinda sick, so Celeste took me to the bathroom. Wait! Then that was...
She wasn't worried about you. She just saw a chance to help Hifumi sneak out of the nurse's office.
Each piece isn't much by itself, but start putting them together and the picture gets very ugly indeed.
Oh shit, dude.
Wouldn't you agree, Celeste?
I have no idea what you mean.
Don't bother trying to deny it. You made one fatal mistake.
Oh, did I?
I didn't even catch it myself when you first said it, but looking back, I can say that that one little slip-up was your undoing.
Oh shit.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about what you said after Hifumi's body disappeared and we returned to the nurse's office.
They must really be enjoying this. Enjoying the sight of us standing around frightened and confused. We're all gonna die here. You're gonna die just like those guys died.
I remember her saying that too, but I don't understand what's so strange about it.
Then pay attention. Sakura, Toko, and I were first to discover Taka's body in the equipment room. Then Makoto showed up and told us Hifumi had been killed. So Sakura and I left with Makoto. Once we were in the hall, we ran into Celeste, and the 4 of us headed to the nurse's office. Now, the entire time we were together, none of us said anything about Taka being dead. Think about it. Celeste's comment doesn't make sense. It was completely out of place.
Yeah, I see what you're talking about. Although I don't really get what it means.
You hear that, Celeste? Everyone's having some trouble understanding. Could you repeat what you said? If you're really not the culprit, you shouldn't have any problem repeating it, right?
So that doesn't make sense. What is he tied into? Okay.
All I said was... They must really be enjoying this. Enjoying the sight of us standing around, frightened and confused. They must be positively elated. We are all going to die here. We are going to die, just like those guys died.
Okay.
Shoot!
Oh shit, I fucked it up.
All I said was, they must really enjoying the sight of us. They must be. We are going to die. And that is all I said.
And that's all it takes to finish this. What was so strange about Celeste's comment?
Let's see.
All I said was,
I think it's the right one.
Enjoying the sight of us. They must be. We are all going to die. We are going to die.
Just like...
There we go, haha.
No, that's
That is wrong.
That's right. There's no reason Celeste should have said, just like those guys died.
Well, that's me for this episode. If you like, subscribe when we get back. I think we'll be seeing the finale of the case. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure the finale is up next. We'll see you then. Alright, see you next time. Peace.